Polymarket was also right that Taylor Swift wouldn't announce her pregnancy last year. That was a very actively traded contract.
Seriously?
But on balance, yes, seriously. On balance, they were fairly confident that she wasn't going to have any good news for us before the end of December.
What are the most actively traded things on Polymarket?
Well, the presidential election, the one day their total turnover has exceeded $1 billion to date was election day last year. So they're known for politics, and that's been their mainstay. It certainly looks, I can't work out how to get granular enough information to really work this out. It certainly looks as though they're becoming somewhat more of an orthodox sports site. They're not the same as DraftKings or whatever, but DraftKings and more similar. There are ways in which you might have a difficult decision to make when you are deciding whether to lose money on which site you wanted to lose your money on for betting on sports.
To your point, John, DraftKings is down 5.3% right now. Flutter's the parent company of FanDuel. It's down 5.8%. So people see this investment by Intercontinental Exchange as, legitimizing this newish way to make predictions, to make wagers.
Okay, let's unpack that. It's recognizing how big sports betting is, and if there is any advantage that ICE has from its very powerful software and networks in being able to compete with on sports betting, it probably does want to get a share of that money in there. So that is one element of it. The other more interesting one is that there have always been political prediction markets. There was a flourishing prediction market on papal conclaves back in the 1500s, which was accurate. There was one conclave that went on for something like 3 months, and Julius III was the compromise candidate who was the favourite from the outset. But they had to cycle through all these different factions, and all the skullduggery went on, and cardinals were furious that somebody must be leaking information beyond the Vatican walls. But anyway, the basic point is that this is not new. There were prediction markets at Buttonwood where people were trading on stocks. They were also betting on political outcomes. So it's obviously something for which there is some kind of a lowercase d demand that won't go away.
Right.
People want to do this.
The official exchanges are just a different form of betting. There's rules and regulations around it. So I kind of get. But
derivatives exchanges are. If you're actually buying a stock or a bond, you're buying a claim on a company or a government in some way. But yeah.
But you're making a bet that this company is going to pay off, right?
Yes, sure.
But what do you, John? Part of me says, is this a bigger story about Polymarket, or is it a bigger story about the Intercontinental Exchange? The business of exchanges has changed dramatically in our lifetime.
Well, it is extraordinary that they think it's worth. I've had one suggestion that this is basically a huge FOMO trade by ICE, just in case they miss out on sports betting, just in case, by far the sexiest element, not just because I started writing about it a year ago, but by far the most sexy element of derivatives trading these days is political futures, plainly. And so they want to have a piece of that action. And again, I think it was, off the top of my head, it was $60 billion changed hands in NVIDIA stock alone yesterday. And the entire of Polymarket has only once traded as much as 1 billion. My apologies if that number was wrong, but the general scale is right. This is just a flea compared to the volumes that they already do at the moment. So it's, I guess what they see in Polymarket is these guys really have caught the imagination. InTrade was actually as dominant among prediction markets a dozen years or so ago, and it got closed down. Didn't manage to make the right friends with the regulators, didn't manage to stay the right side of the law, and got closed down. These guys have caught the imagination in a way quite a number of other betting venues haven't. And so they're making the bet that this is the horse we need to bet on, pun intended, I think, there. We think there is a future in political betting, broader betting, and these are the guys we need to be with.
And we should point out that, right, CME Group, which is the largest U.S. derivatives exchange, they've got a partnership with FanDuel. So we've seen this start to happen.
Yes. Now, this is one of those rare occasions where both I and Matt Levine, the daily newsletter writers of Bloomberg Opinion, have actually writing about the same thing on the same day. So Matt is fairly cynical. He comes out at noon, I come out at midnight. He is fairly cynical about this. He's fairly cynical about this with fairly good reason. It's just what exactly is the social good, the social purpose that's served by this. It's not like raising capital.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because we've been talking kind of in our show group and our unit group about kind of the gamification of our world. It just keeps...
Well, Robin Hood is in many ways a very similar kind of outfit to Polymarket, and similarly has gamified the business of investing. I have teenage kids. Some of the things they say to me about, or some of the things their friends say to me about investments with heavy air quotes they've made, horrify me.
Like what?
Because it is a game. Oh, my son has friends who've made a mint on Dogecoin. Well done.
Hey, take that to your terminal and write about it.
Yes,
John.
Exactly. Exactly. Where there is a possible use case that's a very good use case for this, which really doesn't exist at all at this moment, is to use futures actually as a hedge. They started as a risk management vehicle for people who wanted to protect themselves against a bad harvest. Say you're sinking a huge amount of money into a wind power project, and you know that if Trump wins, that's going to be a real problem for you. Buy a slug of Trump futures, and it's a hedge. Now, that is a genuinely potentially useful thing for this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That being said, if the entire, if say you wanted to spend a few $100 million on your hedge, you would completely obliterate even Polymarket at this moment. It would, the price would go to 100 straight away. There is nowhere near enough volume to have that function. It's possible if it's part of ICE, and if ICE has the kind of volume available to it, that it could come to have that kind of a function.